Hey YouTube, it's ICU and welcome to the 207th episode of Best Tech Info and Rumors. Starting off, we're going to be talking about Apple, mostly the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus. If you happen to miss the unveiling on Tuesday, I will have a link down below in the more info to a post on Best Tech Info that not only contains two videos that I created. The first one was a summary of the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus in under 2 minutes, and the second one was a summary of the Apple Watch in under 2 minutes, but also complete and official videos from Apple covering not only the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, but also the Apple Watch and the entire keynote. Again, just be sure to check below if you're interested in all of that for complete details on everything that was announced during the event. I highly recommend watching through all of it if you have the time. If not, just be sure to check out my two summary videos on the devices that were announced during this week's event. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus. I'm incredibly excited to get my hands on both devices for you guys because I will be getting the 6 and the 6 Plus. But first of all, let's back up and I'm going to break things down for you. So the iPhone 6 will feature a 4.7-inch display, whereas the iPhone 6 Plus will tout an incredibly massive 5.5-inch display. And there are actually a lot of things similar between the two devices, so let's go over those before I highlight the differences. First of all, they're both built with the same A8 processor, which is Apple's second generation 64-bit chip. It's built using a new process. It has double the transistors at 2 billion. It's 13% smaller than its predecessor, being the A7 chip. It offers 25% improvements in the CPU department and up to 50% in the graphics. And that, in conjunction with the Metal API for developers in iOS 8, will allow them to build some incredibly awesome apps, specifically games, for the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus that take advantage of the A8's raw processing power. And it will also likely have the same amount of RAM, being 1 GB, which has been consistent from the iPhone 5 up until now, the 6 and the 6 Plus. However, that's not that big of a deal because Apple has the added advantage of being able to develop hardware and software that work in synchronous with one another, better than, let's say, Android manufacturers who have limited control over the software. So the iPhone 6 will definitely offer comparable, if not better, performance than an Android device with 2 to 4 GB of RAM. And again, that's because Apple can create hardware and software that work perfectly together with one another. But without getting too sidetracked, let's get back to the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. They also have overall the same design and profile with slight variations to accommodate the larger 5.5-inch display, it would appear. And also they have what looks to be the same eyesight camera at first glance. There's one major difference between the two, however. But overall, it's still an 8-megapixel eyesight camera. And again, keep in mind, megapixel count isn't everything. Apple's done a lot of work to improve the optics in this camera. It even offers near instant autofocus as well as continual autofocus when taking video, which is something that's absolutely new, and 240 frames per second slow-mo video recording. But this is a great time to kick off the differences between the two. The iPhone 6 Plus will feature optical image stabilization, and that in conjunction with the M8 motion coprocessor found on the iPhone 6 Plus as well as the iPhone 6 will be able to provide video that's near shakeless, whereas on the 6 it will simply utilize digital image stabilization. And now moving on to some of the other differences. During the keynote, it appears that the iPhone 6 Plus will be able to utilize apps and landscape better than on the iPhone 6. And the reason for that is because some of the stock applications already utilize this. They'll have somewhat of a split screen view that's similar to what the iPad currently does. For example, if you're inside of the Messages app in landscape mode, it will show all of your conversations on the left-hand side, and it will show the current conversation thread you're in on the right. The same also applies to the Mail and other stock applications. Developers will even be able to implement this into their apps. Aside from that, though, there are some other differences in the 6 Plus that is actually prompting me to get the device over the iPhone 6. First and foremost, for the major confirmed differences, we have improved battery life across the board for all tasks on the iPhone 6 Plus. Also, it will have a higher pixel density at 401 pixels per inch versus 326. Now, while both displays are coined Apple's HD Retina displays, the iPhone 6 Plus will boast a higher resolution and a higher pixel density as well. And while that isn't too big of a difference, it will definitely play into some people's decisions. But let's rewind for a quick refresher on what it actually means to be a Retina display. So essentially, displays that are deemed Retina have a higher pixel density than the human eye can process at an average viewing distance, or I should say the unaided human eye can process. And oftentimes what smartphone manufacturers will do, especially for Android, is cram as many pixels as they possibly can into a display. And at this point, it's mostly a marketing ploy, and it definitely grabs customers who aren't aware that a display can only reach a pixel density threshold, so to speak, before the difference in pixel density becomes indistinguishable by the naked eye. So oftentimes, they'll also improve various things like saturation as well as contrast, and they'll make their displays actually unrealistic and not representative of real-world color. And Apple's actually done some pretty great work at getting their HD Retina displays to be improved over even the 4-inch Retina display found on something like the iPhone 5, iPhone 5S, or the iPhone 5C. Also, for those of you who are wondering, well, what about applications currently in the App Store? Do we have to wait for developers to update their apps to support the larger resolutions? Thankfully, the answer is no, because in iOS 8, Apple has built what they're calling a desktop class scaler that will automatically scale up the applications to look absolutely great on the 4.7 and 5.5-inch displays on the 6 and 6 Plus respectively. And now let's summarize really quick the differences between the two that we know of so far. The 6 Plus will boast landscape view on the home screen, as well as dual element apps, which what I mean by that is essentially an application that can take advantage of a split screen view. We have better battery life on the 6 Plus, a higher resolution with an improved pixel density, and optical image stabilization. And all of those features together, again, is why I'm going to upgrade to the iPhone 6 Plus. I will also get the iPhone 6 to provide some great comparisons between the two devices for you guys once they're officially released, but more than likely my main phone that I'll use on an everyday basis will be the iPhone 6 Plus. And kind of moving on, when both devices went on sale, Apple experienced significant issues in their pre-order process. And what I mean by that is their online store is actually offline until about 2:50 a.m. Pacific time. It was supposed to go up for pre-orders at 12 a.m. Pacific time, so that's a difference of about almost 3 hours. However, current iOS device owners were able to take advantage of Apple's iOS-based Apple Store app to pre-order the device. But when I personally tried to do a pre-order for in-store pickup on the 6 Plus, it simply wouldn't process on the Apple Store app. So that just means myself, like millions of others, will undoubtedly wait in line on launch day, next Friday, September 19th, to purchase the device. Also, in a related and definitely surprising report, Apple is expected to sell 80 million iPhone 6 and 6 Plus units between the two. And moving on, during the event, let's not forget Apple also unveiled the long-rumored Apple Watch. No, it's not called the iWatch, it's called the Apple Watch. And again, I did create a 2-minute overview video on the device where I summarized pretty much all of the features, everything that was announced during the keynote. If you've missed it and you want additional information on the Apple Watch, or even a complete overview video, then just be sure to check out the post linked to down below. But really quick, let's go ahead and summarize. So the Apple Watch will function with the iPhone 5, iPhone 5S, and the iPhone 5C, including, of course, the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. It will be released in 2015. It starts at $349, and it will be able to do some pretty incredible things. So Apple is introducing a new form of communication between Apple Watches, where you'll be able to draw quick messages, tap things out, have walkie-talkie communication, or even share your heartbeat with one another. But that's not why I personally am sold on the Apple Watch. It's not even all of the fitness tracking capabilities. It's the third-party applications and how well Apple has managed to design the user interface. Personally, I'm not that big of a fan on the overall aesthetics of the device, but it looks to be absolutely amazing how you interact with it with the digital crown on the side. You use that to essentially scroll in on the display. You can even scroll in on your universe of applications at the home screen to select an app with the touch screen. But again, most will use the digital crown to scroll in and interface with applications because it will allow customers to use the watch with without obscuring the display. And on the touchscreen, it can also sense the difference between a tap and a harder press, which will do various things accordingly. So a harder press will bring out somewhat of a dynamic menu between applications. Developers will even be able to create third-party apps, and they even mentioned something as insane as a certain hotel chain developing an app to actually unlock the doors of the rooms with the smartwatch itself. And personally, as many of you know, I'm a huge fan of post-PC smartwatches. I wear my Pebble smartwatch on a daily basis. I absolutely love it, and the primary reason I like it is for discrete and silent notifications. So I can just leave my iPhone on silent all day long, and I'm notified on my wrist when I receive a new text message, email, or really any notification. That's why I'm most excited about the Apple Watch, in addition to all of the applications and the sheer potential of the platform, as more developers will inevitably jump on board and create Apple Watch specific apps. And did I mention that you'll actually be able to pay for things using Apple's all-new Apple Pay service using the Apple Watch, as well as the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus. Apple Pay will launch next month in October for the 6 and 6 Plus, whereas of course it should be available for the Apple Watch on launch, which will be sometime within early 2015. And for more details on Apple Pay and again everything else, just be sure to check down below. And now let's move on to jailbreaking. I'm extremely excited to talk about iOS 8 and the future of jailbreaking. Now I'm sure the most commonly asked question I'll get is whether the developers are planning on creating an untethered iOS 8 jailbreak. Thankfully, the answer is yes, and we might actually get a utility sooner than in years past. So looking back, the evaders released the first untethered iOS 6 and iOS 7 jailbreak utilities in the form of Evasion and Evasion 7 respectively. Now, however, there will also be numerous Chinese dev teams financed by various Chinese companies to rush to release an iOS jailbreak. The one that will undoubtedly be at the helm of those teams will be the Pangu dev team, which released, of course, the Pangu Jailbreak Utility for iOS 7.1 through 7.1.2 that still functions today. And that's also something I need to mention really quick. So the Pangu Utility will function on all iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch models so long as they're on iOS 7.1.2. If they update to iOS 8, they will not be able to jailbreak utilizing Pangu again until a new jailbreak utility is created, developed, and released. Now, I'm going to mention that more next week when iOS 8 is officially released to the public on Wednesday. But for now, just know if you want to maintain your jailbreak, avoid iOS 8 until the developers release a new jailbreak utility. Now back to that new jailbreak utility. Again, numerous teams will be working on it and rushing for a release. Now, unlike years past where the evaders waited for all iDevice models to be released before issuing a utility, so we still have the iPads once the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus are released. This time it might be slightly different, again, because there definitely is an incentive for the Chinese developers to release the jailbreak first. So we might not have to wait until the iPads are actually available before we see a jailbreak utility. Again, we won't know for sure though until later, and I will keep you guys updated along the way. So just be sure to stay tuned. At the very least though, we will have to wait for the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus to be released so that the developers can thoroughly test and discover exploits for the new A8 chip. But again, I will have complete coverage on iOS 8 and the next untethered jailbreak utility. So just be sure to stay tuned, subscribe to my channel if you aren't already. And now moving on to something else related to iOS 8. Following Apple's keynote presentation, they also issued iOS 8 GM or Gold Master, which is essentially the finalized production-ready version of iOS 8 that's intended for public release. Now, in one of my more recent videos, I highlighted how it's technically and theoretically possible to update to the iOS 8 GM seed without being a registered developer. So if you happen to miss that video and you're interested in it for educational purposes only, of course, I highly recommend watching it. And also on the topic, for those of you who are interested, Free App Life isn't actually functional on iOS 8 GM, and it won't be functional on iOS 8 yet until we release Free App Life 5.0. And there's a good reason for that. It's extremely important if you use Free App Life or you've ever used it in the past or you're interested in using it now. Just be sure to check out the post that I have linked to down below in the more info on Free App Life's Facebook page. And of course, if you guys like this video and you're interested in my $100 Amazon giveaway, as well as my upcoming iPhone 6 giveaway, which I will announce when unboxing the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, just be sure to rate this video up and leave a relevant comment down below in the comments section. Once posted, visit bit.ly/getfreeapplife or freeapplife.com inside of mobile Safari, and then download sponsored apps for points and redeem said points for various prizes, including paid apps, gift cards, and bigger electronic devices. And if you don't know what to leave in the comments section, try answering the question of the day. Let me know what you guys think about the iPhone 6, the 6 Plus, as well as the Apple Watch, and which of the two iPhone 6 models are you planning on getting and why? Again, just be sure to let me know down below in the comments or on Best Tech Info. And if you guys want to be updated more often, such as when I release new videos covering various things, of course, like jailbreaking, iOS 8, the iPhone 6, the iPhone 6 Plus, and the Apple Watch, just be sure to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, add me one of your circles inside of Google+, follow me on Instagram at ICUID, and subscribe to my secondary YouTube channel at youtube.com/ICUID. And until next time, this is ICU, signing out.